The man stopped praying when he realized something. It wasn't that God was saying no. It was that God wasn't saying anything at all. At first, he thought it was timing, that answers came slowly, that heaven moved in ways too vast for a man to understand. So he waited. Days turned to weeks. Weeks folded into years. He kept his posture, head bowed, hands clasped, words spoken into the same empty air. Nothing came back. Not a whisper, not a sign, not even the illusion of one. Around him, the world didn't pause out of respect for his silence. It carried on, loud and indifferent. Men shouted, children cried. Wars began over things too small to matter. And still, nothing. He began to notice something else. Others claimed they heard. They spoke of guidance, of presence, of warmth. They smiled when they said it, like they carried something he did not. He searched their faces, looking for cracks, for doubt hiding behind the eyes. But they believed it. That was the worst part. Because if they were right, then he had been overlooked. He tried harder. Longer prayers, louder prayers. Desperate ones whispered through clenched teeth. Bargains formed in the dark. Promises made that he knew he could never keep. Still nothing. One night, he stopped mid-sentence. The words dried in his throat like ash. And for the first time, he didn't try to force them out again. He just sat there, waiting, listening. The silence pressed in, thick and absolute, not peaceful, not comforting. It had weight to it, like something was there, just beyond reach, watching, perhaps, or worse, choosing not to respond. That thought settled into him slowly, not absence, choice. He stood up after a while, but something in him stayed behind, something that had been holding on to the idea that someone, somewhere, was listening closely. Days passed. He stopped asking, stopped expecting, and strangely, the world didn't collapse without his prayers. The sun still rose. The wind still moved through the trees like it always had. Life continued with a quiet, almost cruel consistency. Then, something shifted. Not in the sky, not in the air. In him. Without the noise of asking, he began to notice things he hadn't before. Small things. Precise things. A moment avoided. A path not taken. A word he chose not to say that would have broken something if he had. It wasn't guidance. Not in the way he had imagined. There were no voices, no warmth, no presence wrapping itself around him, just a narrowing, a quiet shaping of events that only made sense after they had already happened. He began to wonder, what if the silence wasn't emptiness? What if it was restraint? What if answers weren't given because they would change the outcome? What if the act of not speaking was the act itself? The thought unsettled him, because it meant he had never been ignored, only handled carefully. One evening, as the light drained from the sky, he found himself standing in the same place he used to pray. The words didn't come back, but something else did. Not comfort, not certainty, just an understanding, cold and steady. If something infinite had chosen silence, then that silence was not accidental. It was deliberate, and whatever was listening had decided that saying nothing was the answer.